Hello, this is Mark Fritz. I'm one of the circuit breaker auditors, and this training session will cover claiming specialized equipment in the circuit breaker system. Today's training will cover the guidelines for claiming specialized equipment placements and will include a demonstration in the online claim system. As shown on this slide, specialized equipment is one of 8 categories of placements available in the online claiming system. You would choose equipment purchase from the placement types list on the left side of the screen. On the right side of the screen, you will see a general definition of specialized equipment costs that can be claimed. This slide highlights the claiming requirements for specialized equipment, common examples of specialized equipment claimed by districts, and equipment-related costs that are not reimbursable. In order to claim specialized equipment, there are 4 basic requirements. The equipment claimed must be outlined in the student's IEP or in an IEP amendment. The equipment must be for a specific student. The equipment purchase must correspond with the claim year. And very important, the equipment purchase must identify the student. Our gold standard is to have the student identified on the invoice by name, initials, or SASIT number. However, we will allow claims that contain the student identified in related requisition documents, including purchase orders. In the middle of this slide, we've identified the common types of specialized equipment that are claimed. These categories are listed in the claim system, and we will show you this during our live demonstration. So you can see that some of the examples of mobility support include Riften chairs, wheelchairs, walkers. Hearing support typically have some sort of, an audio system, hearing aid attachments, things like that. Adaptive technology, we commonly see iPads claimed, and you can also claim specialized software. As noted on the bottom of the slide, some costs cannot be claimed, including equipment maintenance, warranties, and building adaptations. We sometimes get questions from districts about claiming building adaptations, such as special bathrooms that are outlined in a student's IEP and definitely earmarked for the student claimed. However, any modification of a building cannot be reimbursed. Equipment is now in its own placement category, unlike the old claiming system, which required districts to report equipment on an in-district claim form. The claim system has a section where the district has to affirm the information described in the slide, including documentation in the student's IEP, identification on the purchase invoice or somewhere in the requisition documentation. The expenditures is not for a classroom or other building modification, and the equipment is for that student only. The equipment also needs to be described in the claim. The description does not need to be detailed or extensive, but it needs to be clear enough to support the claim. When our department reviews claims, we stratify equipment claims over $2,500 for additional review and may contact you to obtain more information as necessary. So now we're going to go into our claiming district, which is called Pawnee, and I'm going to call up a student to show you how equipment is added to the claim. So you hit the Add Students option on the toolbar here. We're in it, and now we are going to scroll down. We're going to add equipment to Ron Weasley's claim. I'm going to call up Ron using the SASIT number on the left. And then you can see we're in his claim. We're going to hit the placements option. And then we're going to scroll down. Now you can see the screen that allows you to add the placement. I'm going to select equipment purchase on the left. And one feature that we've added to our claiming system in fiscal 26 is that if you highlight the links that are shown here for each type of placement, it'll bring you to the training video for that placement. So that may be very helpful as you do your claims. Now what I want to do is hit the next button. And this brings up a screen which will allow us to enter the detailed equipment information. So you have to affirm all 4 of the following criteria on the left-hand side: that the purchase is supported in the student's IEP, the student is identified in the purchase invoice or somewhere in the requisition documentation, that the expenditure is not for a classroom modification, and that the equipment is for that student's individual use. So I'm going to select all of those boxes. If you don't select all the boxes, the claim will not go through. You will get an error message. On the right-hand side, you have to fill in the detailed equipment information. Now, the equipment type, if you hit this drop down, you can see the major categories of equipment: adaptive technology and devices, hearing support, mobility support, specialized software, or other individual equipment. In Ron's case, they purchased a Riften chair, so that's mobility support. So I'm going to hit mobility support. The unit cost of the equipment was $3,000. And you can see when I type in 3,000 that there's a red warning message below the equipment type details. When it's over $2,500, you need to put a description in the equipment type details. So what I'm going to do is just type in Riften chair. That's sufficient for this purpose. Sorry. Oh. And then once I do that, the error message goes away. Now our IEP start and end dates were July 1st, 2025 to July 1st, 2026. The equipment was purchased on October 15th. And there's a comment section below that if you want to add any additional or clarifying information. In this case, a Riften chair is pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to do that. After you enter all these boxes, I'm going to hit the next button. And you can see that it has created our placement. Total cost of the placement is $3,000. You can view it by selecting here. I'm also going to hit the refresh button at the top. And what that does is it updates the system and displays the placement we just created at the bottom of this screen. So you can see that the equipment has been added here. You can also always go to your SumSASIT page and check that to see that all the placements are there. It's always a good idea. You can see that now. So anyways, what happens if we find out that information we added needs to be changed? In this case, the equipment, we only put in the cost of the equipment, but there was shipping charges, which are allowable to be claimed, of $150. So we want to claim that additional $150. To do that, we go to the placement, hit the placement number on the left. This brings us to the details page for that placement only. You can see that up here. This is placement 0239640. In order to edit it, you can see there's a lot of information here. Anywhere there's a pencil icon, you can edit the information that is there. So if I scroll down, you can see the equipment cost is $3,000. I want to change that to include the shipping cost. So I'm going to hit the pencil icon, and I'm going to change that cost to $3,150. After you make any edits, disappeared. After you make any edits, you have to hit the Save button on the bottom to save the edits. And now I'm going to view the placement. I'm going to go back to the student claim. And hit the Placements tab. And when I scroll down to the bottom, you can see that this placement has been changed to 3,150. So that concludes our training for this particular module. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please contact your circuit breaker liaison, and thank you very much.